You know the moment. Your dog stops thinking and starts doing. Leash biting, jumping that wouldn't shut off, barking that keeps climbing, zoomies that turn your living room into a slip and slide. This isn't a "your dog is dangerous" scare video. It's about overload, the point where the dog can't settle and everything starts spilling out as behavior. If you've ever been blindsided and thought, that came out of nowhere, this is why. Here are 9 signs it's building up before it tips over. Number 1. When the leash becomes the enemy. There's a special kind of public humiliation that only dog owners know. You're outside, trying to look normal, and your dog suddenly whips around and starts biting the leash like it's the problem. Tug, shake, growl, repeat. Now you're not walking a dog, you're in a rope fight. This is rarely about the leash. Instead, it's about arousal that has nowhere to land. The dog gets too keyed up, hits a limit, and the leash is the closest thing they can grab. It tends to show up when the walk is already running hot. Too many stops, too many triggers, too much frustration, too much hype, and then the dog has to dump that energy somewhere. The useful part is that it's predictable. It usually happens right after a spike, not out of nowhere. Once you start noticing the pattern, you can read leash biting as a sign the dog has crossed the line from having fun into can't regulate. Number 2. When jumping isn't greeting anymore. At first, it looks friendly. Your dog jumps up, you laugh, and the other person laughs, and everyone treats it like enthusiasm. Then it keeps happening, again and again. And suddenly, your dog isn't saying hello, they're stuck on repeat. This is the point owners miss. Jumping can start as excitement, but when it won't stop, it usually means the dog is too amped up to come back down. Their brain is racing, their body is running the same move over and over, and any attention, even pushing them off, can feed the loop. That's why it often gets worse the more people talk, squeal, pet, or reach in. The dog isn't being bad, they're overloaded. In fact, you can spot the shift when the dog stops checking in and starts ricocheting. It doesn't look like a greeting anymore. It looks like a dog who can't settle. And when a dog can't settle, you'll often see the next overflow behavior show up too, like barking that ramps fast. So if the dog can't recover, the solution isn't more no, it's lowering the intensity, because self-control doesn't show up after the dog has already tipped over. Number 3. When barking starts ramping up. You know the bark I'm talking about, not the single, "hey, someone's there" bark. The one that keeps climbing like your dog is getting more convinced something is wrong with every second. It gets louder, faster, harder to interrupt, and suddenly your dog looks like they're doing security work nobody asked for. This is barking as spillover. The dog is tense or overloaded, and the sound is where that pressure leaks out. It shows up when the environment keeps piling on. Doorbell, footsteps in the hallway, a dog across the street, a window view, the constant movement. Each little trigger adds fuel, and barking turns into a loop the dog can't step out of easily. The giveaway is the ramp. If it doesn't start and stop cleanly, and the body is joining in with pacing, scanning, and a tight face, you're not looking at a bad dog. You're looking at a dog who needs the intensity lowered so their brain can come back online. Number 4. When random humping isn't what you think. Humping has a talent for happening at the exact moment you wish your dog could vanish. Guests are here, everyone's chatting, the dog is buzzing, and then they latch onto a leg, a cushion, or another dog like their brain just picked the worst possible outlet. Owners jump straight to dominance or sex. In a lot of real-life situations, it's neither. It's overflow. When a dog gets too amped, they don't always bark or zoom. Some dogs dump that energy into mounting because it's instant and self-rewarding. You'll see it when play gets too intense, when greetings are chaotic, or when the environment is loud and busy and the dog can't come down cleanly. It can also show up when they're frustrated, like when they want access to something and can't get it. The way to read it is the timing. If it appears right when energy spikes, treat it as a sign the dog is past their limit. That shift matters because once a dog hits that point, they usually start cycling through other overflow behaviors too. Number 5. When zoomies stop being funny. Zoomies are hilarious right up until your dog turns your living room into a drifting course. 1 second they're sprinting, the next they're sliding into furniture, bouncing off corners, and launching themselves like the floor is lava. People label it, they've got energy. But a lot of zoomies are a release valve, not a workout plan. This kind of frantic sprinting often shows up when arousal is high and the dog needs a way to dump it fast. It can happen after a tense moment, after guests leave, after a long day of being good, or when the house is loud and the dog can't settle. The dog isn't calmly burning calories, they're discharging pressure. That's why the body looks wild and the decision-making looks optional. The easiest clue is what happens after. If the dog can shake it off and settle, it was a clean release. If they stay wired, keep pacing, keep barking, or keep looking for the next outlet, those zoomies weren't just goofy. They were a sign the dog still hasn't come down. Number 6. When play turns into mouthy grabbing. This is the moment owners describe as he just gets wild. Your dog is excited, you're interacting, and then suddenly they're grabbing sleeves, nipping hands, or hanging onto your clothes like that's part of the game. It's easy to label it as aggression, but most of the time it's arousal with bad aim. When a dog gets overloaded, their mouth can become their default tool. They're trying to interact, release energy, and keep the intensity going all at once, and the bite control falls apart. The key is that it doesn't look thoughtful. It looks impulsive, like the dog's brain is running behind their body. A clean ending is the shift right before it starts. The dog gets bouncier, faster, less responsive, and then the grabbing begins. Catch the ramp early, and the whole situation stays fun. Miss it, and you end up in a wrestling match you never signed up for. Number 7. When your dog forgets everything. Nothing makes an owner feel more powerless than saying a command your dog knows cold and getting nothing. No sit, no come, not even a glance. Just that blank stare like you're speaking a language they've never heard in their life. A lot of the time, that isn't defiance. When the arousal climbs too high, focus is one of the first things to disappear. The dog's brain is busy, tracking movement, sounds, smells, other dogs, people, whatever is happening in the environment, and your cue doesn't even make the top 10. That's why it usually happens outside, during greetings, in busy places, or right after something exciting or frustrating. The dog isn't refusing, they're just not fully available. The clue is what the dog is doing instead. If they're scanning, pulling, pacing, vocalizing, or bouncing in place, you're watching a dog who's past the point of learning in that moment. Once they come back down, the forgotten commands magically return. Number 8. When your dog shakes off without being wet. The dog isn't wet. Nobody splashed them, and yet they do the full body shake like they just got out of a bath. Most owners ignore it because it looks random, like a little itch reset. But this shake-off shows up right after intensity, usually after a tense greeting, a close call with another dog, being held still for a moment, or any sudden burst of excitement. It's like the dog is trying to physically wipe the moment off their body and get back to normal. Not in a magical way, just in a nervous system way. Big feelings spike. Then you see the shake, and suddenly the dog looks a little clearer. That's what makes it useful. It's a tiny checkpoint that says, that was a lot. If you start noticing when it happens, you'll catch patterns you missed before. And you'll also catch the difference between a dog who can reset and a dog who can't. Because the ones who can't usually move on to the next overflow behavior. Number 9. When your dog suddenly starts sniffing the ground. This one fools owners because it looks, well, polite. Your dog is in the middle of a moment that feels tense, and instead of reacting, they drop their nose to the ground and start sniffing like they just discovered a secret trail. People assume the dog is calm. Sometimes they even praise it. But a lot of the time, that sniffing is the dog's exit strategy. It's a quick way to break eye contact, create a little space, and regulate without causing drama. You'll see it when a greeting gets too close, when another dog is staring, when someone is hovering, or when the dog is deciding how to handle what's happening. The sniffing can look random, but the timing usually isn't. It shows up right when pressure rises. The biggest clue is the rest of the body. If the dog is sniffing while staying tense, avoiding faces, or trying to angle away, that's not curiosity. That's a dog buying themselves a second. Hey, if you enjoyed this, you'll probably love this video here. And if you hit subscribe, I'll donate a meal to a rescue dog on your behalf.